Hi everybody, this is Donnaleigh of Donnaleigh.net, and today what I'd like to do is a quick, speedy reading on what tarot thinks of spirituality. And that pretty much encompasses all things: religions, how we feel about otherworldly things, how we connect with the innermost parts of ourselves, and how we connect with the world as a result of how we see it. I'll be using the New Visions Tarot today, which is an interesting deck because it takes the Rider-Waite system and flips it over so you see everything as if you're looking at it from the back of the card. So you can see the Fool here looking at him from behind and what he's heading toward. Oops, a volcano. You just never know. So here's the spread I got today, and I will show you that 2 cards popped out of the deck, and these are always my spiritual lessons, so we're just going to tuck those over there till the end. And here's what we got. I do 4 different spread positions. So we've got situation and challenge, our advice, and our likely outcome. And I threw down just a few quick runes, which will just kind of fly by. But I'm going to go through this quickly. And right here we have the 8 of Swords, and you can see she is bound and tied, and there are vultures kind of swinging around her. But what this suggests to me, if this is a situation we have with spirituality, it's asking us to look at how we allow spirituality to keep us bound up or in a box or afraid to step out of something, kind of keeping us within ourselves. So it's kind of giving us a nod to, no matter what spiritual system you use, don't be afraid to kind of step across that line of swords and show the vultures you're alive. And it will allow you to learn about what's on the other side of the swords, what other people are doing. It doesn't mean you have to absorb it, but it's a great learning opportunity. And you may find that there's tidbits there that become a very important part of your own spiritual system, that there's something you've not yet met. Next we have the 6 of Cups, and I do read these cards reversed, but I'm going to turn it over so you can take a look at it. And the 6 of Cups, you can see, has a family, even grandparents in the background here, so we've got a legacy going on. And one person, one child, is passing something down to the other, and don't those look like the chalices that you see in a service? It reminds me of when we used to go to Mass when I was Catholic, and we'd have that chalice up there, and they would take even that thing with the X on it, that little post there was where they would take the Holy Eucharist out of. But this shows about how no matter what spiritual system you use, that it tends to be something from a legacy that's passed down. And this being our challenge, it reminds me of a story where a little girl on Thanksgiving or Easter, whatever the holiday was, there was a ham, and her mother would hack the edge of the ham off. And she'd say, "Mom, how come you take the edge of the ham off before you cook it?" She says, "Well, it makes it taste better, and my mom always did it." And she said, let's go ask your grandma why she did it. So they went into the living room and asked her and said, "Mom, why did you hack the edge of the ham off?" And she says, "Well, it always makes the ham taste better, and my mother always did that too." So the next week they went to the nursing home and they visited their grandmother, or the little girl's great-grandmother, and they asked her, "Why did you hack the edge of the ham off?" She goes, "Oh my goodness," she goes, "my stove was so small back then I couldn't fit the whole ham in it, so I'd cut the edge off so I could cook it." And as you can see, that system that was passed down was done for absolutely no reason and for the wrong reasons. But you can see how spiritual systems have that same type of going down through history. Priests not marrying, and it had to do with preserving the land, because the land was thought to believe it belonged to the church and it belonged to the priest. So if he were to marry, his wife would get the land if he were to pass away first. And today, priests still don't get married, even though they don't have the same system of land ownership. So this is about legacy, and our challenge is, what is passed down that perhaps is something that doesn't serve us for what it used to, or what is passed down that perhaps we take as a system when we really don't put any thought into it or how it applies. Okay. Interesting for our advice from Tarot is the Chariot. And this is a powerful card of movement. And in here they're moving toward a crowd. There's two people together and they're pushing that king or whoever it is that's in that chariot, and they're moving him into the crowd. And of course this advises us, try some movement, whatever the movement is that you choose to do something. And I think this also asks us to move into the community. If we think of a spiritual system, we tend to think of it as more of a solitary thing, but perhaps integrating your spirituality into what you do with the community so that your actions kind of demonstrate what you want your spiritual system to show other people, what makes it good, to make sure that you represent what you say you believe. And this movement also may suggest really move outside, like we saw this first one. It's kind of the opposite of this card. She's not going nowhere and she's not moving, and there's no community. It's very private, a very dark card, very within. But this card is very sunny. They're outside, they're moving, they're going. So really try and step outside your box and see what other people have. And real quick, just these runes, see this little X here? That means gift. Think of it as a gift. A spiritual system is something that should enhance our life. This right here is upside down, but this one is all about value and money and what it gives us. Being reversed, it asks us is, I think of some spiritual systems who have really centered around money and what money does, and this really has nothing to do with that other than how it can benefit, say, the community. But it's really thinking of your inner values as well. When we think of something that's reversed, as in tarot, sometimes we think of what it means internally rather than externally. So think of one's inner values. And right here we got the M card, the rune here, and I don't know the names of all the runes, but this really talks about how it manifests on the social plane. And to think that much of what we do spiritually is kind of a social thing. And as advice, it's asking you to pull what you do into society and to show people, not necessarily bragging about a spiritual system, but to integrate your belief system there. Quick outcome, I pulled two cards here, and they're both very different, but this would be the natural course of things. Now, first of all, remember we said reverse cards can be internal belief systems, so this is talking about looking within rather than looking outside, that you'll find the deepest spiritual things within oneself, looking at that light within you. Rather than he's not looking at that building with four walls. He's really taking a good look at that pentacle, which we'll say is the light that shines within. But it also can mean that sometimes, and every card has a kind of a plus side and a negative side, but to notice that if he's handing that out to someone or giving, and it's reversed, he's pulling it back. And just to recognize what parts of ourself create limits or boundaries or pull within ourselves because someone else may perhaps have a different spiritual system than us, and is this the right thing to do? Perhaps we should reach out. I don't know. This card right here is the natural course of things. Is a big one, and look at it looks like our Hierophant in the corner here. This is the death card. Doesn't mean you're going to die, but it could talk about what you think happens after death. But this card is about change and shift and complete metamorphosis and transformation. And it does suggest, you may through your life find yourself shifting and changing. But because this card is our challenge, you may find that threads of yourself always go back to what you were born with. As hard as we try to break away, we may find that there's pieces of us that even in new spiritual systems still go back. So sometimes it's hard to completely break out. That kind of Pope or the Hierophant in the corner there is always kind of reaching back from the past. But that death card does show that we have great potential for shifts and change and manifesting, being reborn. And of course this could be thought of as, say, the reborn Christian, but it could be reborn anything in completely new ways of thinking of something, breaking down the old and kind of shaking out things, and you have something new. So, and there you just need to go within for that. Real quick, the spiritual lesson cards. We've got the Two of Swords and about how we block ourselves or blindfold ourselves, and there could be things all around us and coming. And it really asks us to take a look at what we would see if we took off our blindfold, put down our shield, don't feel so defensive. And this really spoke to me, the Nine of Swords, of a woman very fearful at night with the boogeyman coming. And so many of us in today's world, we like to think of ourselves as advanced, but we have very archaic views of people with differences. and that includes religions. And oftentimes we fear what other people believe or think, and we have unrealistic beliefs about what they believe. And I instantly think of 9/11 when I see a card like this. But through the years, thousands of years, people have been this way and feared each other. And if we could think of religion or spirituality as what it really is supposed to be, about love and integrating, this card wouldn't be. So it's a gentle reminder of how we've misused spirituality and religion. And that's what tarot has to say about spirituality. And I hope you have a tarot-filled spiritual week.